Shout out to Jonathan. He writes, I'm feeling grateful as of late. I've been traveling recently and I'm starting a Big Four internship. Oh, congratulations. That's very meaningful. He writes, what's one thing you're grateful for? I am grateful that I'm able to live in the moment and appreciate the moment, number one. And I'm also grateful, here's two, and I usually only give one. I'm also grateful that my mother has come in town to visit, and because my mother's a great reminder for me and an anchor psychologically, and a reminder of that which I come from in a literal sense and also a figurative sense. Because if you've read my book, The Black Box, I highly recommend it to everyone because it's a story of inspiration and it will drive you to greater outcomes. It doesn't make me much money. I think it's like 10, 13 bucks. You can get it on Amazon, type in The Black Box, Marquett Burton, or you can get an ebook, lower cost at thesassin.com. Just click products. But thank you for that. I appreciate you, Chung. But in my book, you'll read the truth of that which I come from, which is really hard living. I grew up in an American ghetto and I was poorer than the other poor kids in this ghetto. And I was always on Section 8 housing. And I grew up on food stamps back when it was embarrassing. Now they've given these people dignity, which they shouldn't have. The government allows you to swipe a card and it looks like you have some sort of like a debit card or a credit card or a bank card. So you have some dignity. Whereas when I was a youngster, we had actual food stamps with these colorful pieces of government printed paper that was clearly not legal tender in the sense of cash. And it was very obvious what it was. And you'd have to go into Food for Less and stand in line. And my mother was the worst. She'd go get a bunch of food and then she'd forget something every time. And she'd say, get in line, get in line. And I'm like, what the? And then she'd go leave out and go find some other items. And then invariably I would come to the front of the line and I'm like a kid, 10, 12, 13 years old with this food stamp book. And it's embarrassing, of course. And I'm trying to figure out if the person on, the clerk will even let me purchase all this food in this basket. It was very degrading. And that's okay because we were poor and we were on government assistance. And I think it's important to be aware of your reality as opposed to like pretending as though it's something else. I think it's degrading to me as a taxpayer to have to pay for other people's food because they've made poor decisions in life. And then they get to feel like they're a normal person. You're not a normal person. You're a freeloader and a beggar. And that's what I come from. I come from such levels of poverty that the government had to give us subsidized housing in Section 8 and had to give us food stamps. And we, on a regular basis, got evicted when I was a youngster. And I remember one time in elementary school, which I'll never forget because it's an important memory. I was at elementary school with my best friend, who is still a phenomenal friend to this day, whom I love very much. And I forget maybe there was a disagreement. Maybe he was angry about something, but he's like, you're an apartment boy. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, you're an apartment boy. You live in an apartment. And he was actually like middle class, which was not very common among Black folks in Southern California. And he lived in a house in a nice part of town, actually. And I would love going to his neighborhood. All the pretty Black girls were over there. And so that really struck me because I felt torn in as much as like, well, I didn't create this situation. I'm just a kid. Like, we're in like the third, fourth grade. And I was just thinking, I'm a kid. I didn't create this situation. I didn't choose to move into an apartment. I didn't choose to be poor. Like that's moms and that's pops. Like they're screw ups, not me. Pretty smart and competent. And I always knew that there was a big gap between what I am and what I deserve and what I had being down here. So I righted that and I put what I am and what I deserve, and I made that equal to my material existence through a very serious level of focus, intelligence applied consistently, high levels of ambition and risk taking, and my hard work paid off. And I appreciate my mother. She congratulates me all the time because she observed me work hard and be focused and be disciplined and not drink alcohol and not go to the club and not smoke cigarettes and not use drugs and do everything right every time. So I say that to say, bringing my mother here and seeing how proud she is and she gets to floss on her friends, and moms like to do that. So for me, that is a full circle moment, and it's an inspiring moment. And even if everything was taken away from me this moment, those are memories that you hold on to forever. Picking up your mother in another Maybach, Showing my mom the self-driving, the self-parking feature. You take your hands off the steering wheel, take your feet off the gas and the brake, and the car takes over and drives itself and parks. And showing her the automatic doors and the new settings on the massage seats that massage your glutes as well. And my mom just being astounded. I actually enjoy the things that I have more through the people around me that I love, which is why I always tell you guys, because I figured out the key to life. In my 3 sentence Bible: be yourself, be good to yourself, be good to good people, be good to good people, the people who love you and take care of you. And so when I can see my mother or my lady enjoy the fruits of my labor, it makes me happier and feel more whole and feel more meaning, because the truth is I've already owned Rolls Royce, more than one, exotic cars, antique cars, um, more than one Maybach. I've owned much real estate. I've traveled everywhere there is to go. So it doesn't, like, I don't feel as much when I buy a Maybach because I've already bought one, but I feel a lot more when my mother gets to get in it and gets to talk to her friends about it, if you guys can understand. So, anyways, that's what I'm thankful for. Thank you for asking me. And I think it's important to really dive into gratitude. That's something I feel very grateful for, because I really, come out of the mud, and, people who look at the finished product, because I'm above average in articulation, education, professional achievement. People don't believe that I come from the extremes that I come from, but I was so poor that I couldn't even join a gang. A lot of people say, well, you're from LA. Why didn't you join a gang? Well, one, I was not raised to. I was raised to not do that. But more importantly, because we kept getting evicted, I couldn't really belong to a neighborhood, because we kept changing neighborhoods because we were that in that bad of a situation. So, you might look at certain people like, for the old heads, like a Jadakiss or a Styles P or a Jay-Z or a Kanye West or whomever you listen to when you're a young boy. But I started off below all of them. Like I started off way worse than all of them. And in many of their cases, I also put in more work than them, and I hustled more than them. We get so concerned with the image of something rather than the substance of it, which is to say, people will think that you got to be covered in tattoos to put in work. You have to be barely able to speak English like the young boys in Atlanta to, do X, Y, and Z. And it's just frankly not the case. So I'm thankful that I've earned my way beyond where I started based on circumstance. And my life today is a direct reflection of what I am and who I am, the man I've chose to be. And that's why I come here to teach you all. I don't teach you any get rich quick schemes. I teach you about hard work and focus. I don't lie about what I am, like Gary Vaynerchuk acts like he started rags to riches. I was an immigrant. Yeah, you had two parents. Your father owned a big business and you inherited the business. So you're not teaching anyone anything groundbreaking. So I teach you what I actually know. I teach you excellence in communications because I've displayed that over my life, and I've also been awarded for that. I've been compensated for that. I teach you all about strategy in personal life and in business because I've executed supreme strategy that has allowed me to start with nearly no capital and amass significant capital. I teach you about the Book of Dark Truths because when you are in a ghetto and you move into, say, like a middle class or an upper class environment, you have the most challenging thing is understanding that the people in the ghetto and the people in the upper class environment are actually the same, in as much as the percentage of people who are good people or saintly, the percentage of people who are ruthless, the percentage of people who are haters, it's the same percentages. So when you look at this room full of wealthy people and good-looking people, there's some wolves among them. There's some sharks in the water. And the question is, well, how do you figure out who they are? And then in a ghetto, the certain personalities are overtly aggressive, but in the upper class, they might be passive aggressive or they might be very cunning. And so being able to assess that is a skill. It is a skill. It is not a talent. It is a skill. And someone who wasn't born into the upper class but has been in it, they had to develop that skill. And in my case, very quickly, because I was CEO of a significant tech company at age 25. It wasn't my first tech company, but it was the first one that started, doing well for me. So I just talk what I know, not what I'm guessing at, what I know, what I'm expert at, what I have the goods for.